Welcome to Concrete Conversations, the Indian Real Estate Podcast. I'm Yash.
And I'm Akshay, and we're the hosts of the show. We've noticed that some of our listeners are curious about the real estate market in the US, which is no surprise given how the likes of Bigger Pockets, Graham Stevens, Robert Kiyosaki, and others have inspired a global trend of wealth creation through real estate.
But what factors make business models like flipping houses commercially viable? How does the profession of real estate broking work in the USA? And what are the differences between the US and the Indian real estate sectors? To talk about residential real estate in the USA, we have a realtor with 5 years of experience in the tri-state area, Simran Mehra. Simran is a full-time marketing professional who spends her evenings and weekends helping home buyers find their dream home as a realtor for Halo Realty.
As a real estate agent, Simran is licensed in the states of New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania and specializes in international and domestic relocation, first-time home buying, residential investments, rental properties, and mortgage assistance.
So get ready to navigate the nuances of residential real estate in the US tri-state area.
So, Simran, thank you for joining us on Concrete Conversations, the Indian Real Estate Podcast. How are you doing? I know it's morning for you in the States, so I hope your morning's going well so far.
Thank you. Thank you for the welcome. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. I am based out of New Jersey, right outside of Manhattan, New York City, and it's okay. It's not snowing. It's been raining for the last couple of days. So being winter, I'm happy with rain as opposed to snow.
Right. So, Simran, we know that you're working in real estate in the States, but could you maybe give us a little snapshot of, your career and how you ended up in real estate and what it is you do?
Sure, be happy to. So I always tell everybody I have two careers right now. One is in the corporate sector and the other is in the real estate industry. And the reason being is because transitioning over to the real estate industry, because it's fee-based, and there's no, let's say, salary coming in on a daily basis, it's financially taxing. So on the corporate end, I've been in marketing my entire career. Initially started off with the traditional brand marketing, doing campaigns, and it organically grew my career to marketing analytics, marketing technology, and specializing in product marketing. Currently, I am a strategic product marketer, working for ironically, working for a mortgage lender.
Oh, okay.
Technically, we're actually a fintech company, but the product that I support in terms of developing the marketing strategy and the build out of is a real estate product for real estate professionals. And my side gig actually came out of a love and passion for real estate. And I've always been very fascinated with the real estate industry. And the opportunity arose in, I think, late 2017. So I started looking in 2017 into how does one get a real estate license and what it entails and how the business works. And So in 2017, I decided to get my first real estate license in the state of New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And I work with clients primarily like in the evenings, on the weekends. I dedicate my entire time to them.
So, is it the right term, a real estate broker, or is it a realtor, or is it a real estate agent? I know the nomenclature differs slightly in the States than it does in India. So, what is the right terminology there?
Well, I'm glad that you asked that, and I'm glad that's the starting point. So, within the real estate world, there are various different, levels based on licensing.
Okay.
In general, when you're speaking to somebody, they usually say, I'm a realtor. And that's a generic that can be used.
Okay,
right.
However, there are different levels, like I said. There is a broker, or also known as the broker of record. This is the individual who owns the brokerage firm
Okay.
Okay.
and has a broker license. There is a broker manager. So typically they would have, let's say the broker of record has 10 offices in New Jersey. The broker manager would manage one of those offices.
Got it.
Okay.
Then there is the real estate agent, the realtor associate. The real estate agent works for the broker manager and the broker of record. You need to be affiliated with a broker of record in order to quote unquote hang your license with an organization to be able to represent clients in a given state, whether it's the buyer or the seller or renter or a leaser.
If I'm not mistaken, then the first step to actually being involved in transactions and being a realtor and maybe in the future a broker manager is to get that realtor's license then, right?
Correct. You would need to take the exam. So I'll give you an example. Myself, in New Jersey, you are required by law in the state of New Jersey to take a course, a real estate course. And
Right.
you need to know the federal laws that are applicable, the federal agencies that govern it, the state agencies that govern it.
Oh, wow.
You also need to understand a bit about the mortgage, and you do need to be able to do some math and calculation.
Right.
So once you take the course, you pass the course exam, you then get a certificate that says you've taken the course, you've met the requirements, and you have up till 1 year. Actually, it's 1 day shy of 1 year to take the state exam. And once you pass the exam, then there's an entire process that takes place after that. But basically what happens is that you have to find a broker of record that you can hang your license, and they will sponsor you.
Right.
And you're an agent. At that point, your real estate career starts.
Okay.
Interesting.
So the license kind of puts you on the path and gives you that flexibility of maybe dabbling in something like this first, since it's a new industry, or making it your primary career.
Correct.
So how does one earn from the business of being a realtor? Because in India, for example, it's on sale, it's a percentage of the transaction or maybe a month of rent. So is it similar there?
It is similar. So I kind of want to put this out there. What I'm speaking of is pretty much in general,
Right.
but it's consistent throughout the states. And I'm also talking about. I'm not discussing the commercial real estate industry. This is residential.
Right.
And so for residential real estate, for the most part, the fees are paid by the seller side.
Okay.
That's the first thing I wanted to let you know. So what happens is that let's say Akshay wants to sell his house, and he reaches out to me and he says, Simran, I'm looking to sell my home, and I'm relocating to London.
I would have hoped you would have had me relocate to a place with warmer weather, but sure.
I know. Okay, how about Miami Beach?
That's better. That's perfect.
That sounds quite nice, actually.
Okay, so what happens is basically we come to an agreement. You sign a seller's agreement. That agreement typically is for a year, and it says that I will be taking responsibility of listing your home and in the multiple listing services, which are for real estate professionals only. So you can't list on that. I will do all the marketing, all the open houses.
Okay.
Basically, I will do what is needed to ensure this house is sold. Now, we also do the background in terms of looking at the area to find out the right price point, what's going on in the market, so that we can put a price on it that it'll sell, right?
Right.
So in that agreement, there's two things that are essential. One is the term. I usually do 9 months, and the fee is discussed.
Right.
Okay.
On the average, the fee is about, I would say about 5%, 5 to 5.5%. So that fee is based on what the house sells for. So if your home sold for $500,000, the fee that you would pay out of the sale of the property is 5% of that. That fee is divided between the seller's agent and the buyer's agent. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Minus a nominal, like an insignificant fee of like $200 for the listings and all that processing of paperwork and stuff, right? So that's if I have a colleague. Yash brings a client to see the house. This deal is closed. Yash gets 50% of that 5%. I get 50% of the 5% minus the little, $275 or whatever the fee is. Okay.
Right.
If I have a client who's actually looking for a house, I can bring that client and say, listen, my client here, just full disclosure, because you have to have complete transparency.
Right.
My client is actually selling the home. I think it's a good fit for you. I have to have complete transparency. I have to tell Akshay, listen, I'll be representing both parties, the buyer and the seller.
Right.
And dual disclosure is something that we have to recognize.
Right.
And if that deal closes, then the entire 5% commission would come to my brokerage. Now, notice how I say my brokerage, right?
Right.
Now, the 5% does not come to me. That fee, that check, is written out to my brokerage, my brokerage firm, not to an individual, it's to an entity.
Right.
Okay.
Then I have to submit that along with documentation of the transaction and the deal and everything to my broker of record. My broker of record then takes his fee or her fee from it.
Right.
Right? Because there's a hierarchy, right?
Right.
So that split in fee, it all depends on your tenure and the agreement that you have with your broker of record.
Right.
So you can see that 2.5% is not what a real estate agent walks away with, right?
Right. Just to summarize it, being a realtor with a license comes, allows you access, but to operate within this hierarchy of a brokerage firm and a broker of record, then you have to pay the fees on transactions.
Yeah, you have to pay the fees, yes.
Yeah.
One of the other interesting revenue models for agents in the States is something you mentioned to us the last time we spoke, is referral-based business, which can even work across states. So could you maybe shed a little light on how this works and whether this could be, for maybe more passive agents who are looking at this as an additional stream of income, how this could be maybe an option they can consider?
Sure. So there are two types of referral-based business. Again, we'll stay with Akshay. Akshay is moving out of New Jersey and he's buying a house. He's buying a condo in Miami Beach, and there are two scenarios around that. So I have a real estate license in in Florida, but I physically cannot, help Akshay find a place there, right? So my broker of record has an office in Miami, and I find a colleague within my brokerage itself that I give a referral, and I call him up and I say, listen, Yash, my client is relocating to Miami. This is what they're looking for. I wanted to give you the referral. I'd like to be kept in the loop and also help in any way I can. When that transaction goes through and actually decides, okay, I'm going to buy this place, Yash would be the lead. He goes through the same process that, let's say, I went through for Akshay in New Jersey.
Right.
And once the deal is closed, again, that fee that is split from the buyer and the seller. So whatever that 50%, Yash has to, because it's a referral, would give me a referral fee for that. Traditionally, it's 25%.
Right.
Got it.
That's one way to do it. Another way is, again, Akshay's moving to Miami. My broker of record is not licensed in Florida. So we don't have a presence in Florida. But through networking, I do know someone of another brokerage that is in Miami. I've worked with that person before. I give Yash a call and I'm like, Yash, wanted to give you a referral. I'll send over the paperwork.
Right.
And then, it would go through the same motions. And then once that deal is closed, my brokerage would get the 25% referral fee.
Right.
The third way of doing it is a real estate professional, a realtor, who, let's say, has a real estate license, and they've been doing this for a year and a half, part-time, and it's just not working out for them, because it's not easy, I will say that. As opposed to forfeiting my real estate license completely, I'm just going to go from a real estate agent license to a referral.
Okay.
What does that mean? That means that you can still be affiliated with the same broker of record, but you're not selling.
Okay.
Right? But what you can do is you can refer. So you can work with an agent and help your client that way. The agent would be responsible because they're the real estate agent. You're only referring. But the fee structure would be the same, and the paperwork would be the same.
Right. You mentioned that the market is difficult. Could you maybe shed light on, as a realtor in the States, how do you differentiate your service to make it better or make it more competitive from other realtors?
Yeah. So I think, I think when the market is really doing well, a lot of realtors don't take the effort to differentiate themselves. It's usually at a downturn that they need to.
Right.
I don't work that way. So as I mentioned to you earlier, I got into this because of my love and passion for real estate, right? And one of the main reasons is, outside of my passion for real estate, is I had no one to help me when I bought my place.
Right.
I was like a deer walking into headlights.
Right.
I promised that when I was doing this on the other side, as a realtor, representing the industry, representing my firm, I would never let that happen to my clients.
Right.
And honestly, Yash, Akshay, I don't know what differentiates me from the next person. But what I do know is the feedback I've gotten.
Right.
And that, for me, speaks volumes. And I had a guy say to me recently, actually, in front of my clients, he's like, I have never met a real estate professional who cares as much as you do about your clients. Because what you are saying and what you are doing to them, no other realtor would ever share this knowledge.
Right.
And I was surprised that he said that in front of my clients. But for me, that was a great sounding board, because I know whatever I'm doing, I am doing it correctly.
Right.
So for me, what differentiates me is I am completely transparent with my clients, and I'm very honest with them.
Right.
And that makes perfect sense, because it's such a personal decision and such a life-changing decision. One thing I found particularly interesting is that there's a lot of the American dream of wealth creation in the US. A lot of it seems to have a connection to real estate, with the likes of Robert Kiyosaki or Bigger Pockets. Real estate is often seen as a way to create wealth for yourself. And I wanted to know your opinion on this perception. As why is real estate seen as such an approachable way to create wealth for yourself, or maybe to have that American dream?
Oh, that's a good question.
Just your opinion. We're not looking for the definitive answer
Yeah.
of that.
This is definitely just my opinion. I mean, and it might be a bit of like tunnel vision, because I'm, for this, I would be speaking about the tri-state area, which is the greater New York City area.
Right.
But you can, I guess, use this argument for any major cosmopolitan area. I mean, real estate is a great way of building equity. It's definitely part of the American dream. Like, part of that American dream is owning a car, owning a house, getting an education. There's very different aspects of the dream.
Right.
And I think for real estate, I know a lot of people who have opted to invest in real estate as opposed to investing in a traditional 401k, which is, the retirement plan that you get through your employer. And a lot of people have decided to do that. every investment is risky, right? If you invest in a 401k or if you invest on your own in the stock market, there is a risk factor, right? The market goes up, the market goes down, the dollar goes up, the dollar goes down, right? And that's the same with real estate. However, if you're looking long term, again, we're looking at residential, not commercial, long term, you are going to reap the rewards.
Right.
I know people who have invested in the last 8 years. They're buying residential real estate, as investment properties. They're renting them out, and these properties are paying for themselves, right?
Right.
So if it's something you can, if it's something that you're looking at long term, like these are investment properties, they're going to pay out eventually. It'll be, again, long term, a source of income, for my retirement, or I can sell it in 10 years and make a lot of money off it and take that cash and then bank it. It's long term.
Right.
You also have people that I'm working with a client right now who's looking to, who's in flipping homes, and if you have the ability to do that. Now, the ability is twofold, right? Financial.
Right.
And also bandwidth wise, right? Because if you're buying the home that you're looking to flip, that home is going to need a lot of work, right? Because you're buying it really cheap.
Right.
So you buy the house cheap, but then you need to be able to invest time and effort into it to renovate it, right?
Of course.
Because it doesn't make sense to get a contractor who's going to charge you, and then how are you going to make a profit off it? So there is money in real estate, whether you buy it as a long-term investment or a short-term investment. There's always benefit in buying real estate.
Right.
The market has gone down. I mean, if you look at the real estate market in the last 30, 40 years, it ebbs and flows. It does. But for the most part, real estate goes up.
Right.
Yeah.
So Simran, we had spoken to another broker in a previous episode who spoke about how the difference between the primary and the secondary market. So in India, considering it's a developing market, a lot of the inventory is freshly made inventory by developers, as opposed to the secondary market where you're selling someone else's house. In your experience or the deals that you work with, or that realtors work with in your state, do you see more inventory being there in the secondary market? Is that a larger market over there?
Yeah, for sure. And just to touch on that really quickly, there are a lot of developers that do residential homes, buildings, condominiums.
Right.
And traditionally, they have either an in-house team that manages it, or they have an existing relationship with a brokerage firm, an exclusive relationship.
Right.
So let's say they have an existing relationship with my broker of record, Halo Realty. We would then have a presence in that building where buyers could come in, we would show them the properties, and they could buy directly from us.
Right.
Simran, one of the other interesting things that you touched upon was this idea of flipping houses, and this links right back to this idea of real estate being part of the American dream, which I think now globalization and media and entertainment exposure has sort of taken the American dream international. Now people aspire to replicate these models like flipping houses in their own countries.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if you could speak to the fact, in just your opinion, what are some of the factors that allows this model to work in the States, and why it sort of became so popular?
That's a good question. This is going to be, I will say this is going to be my opinion. All right.
Right. Of course.
Okay. Because again, because I don't have the data to kind of give you a clear, concise.
Right.
But I think there are a lot of factors that are coming into play. I think one of the major factors is networks like HGTV and Do-It-Yourself Network.
Property Brothers.
Yeah. Where they have these shows where they show contractors and interior designers and working with real estate agents to do these flips. Okay.
Right.
And I will tell you, and this is not a fact, this is my personal experience. I got renovated my house after I purchased it.
Right.
And it is not, if anyone thinks it's like what it is on TV, it's not, let me tell you. So that's one thing.
If I could just interject here, when we spoke earlier, you had mentioned a different kind of financing option that's available in the US, which was the HELOC, the Home Equity Line of Credit, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So if you could just give us a really short summary of what that is, since that's quite a new concept to listeners here.
HELOC is basically a second mortgage, and a lot of people have a second mortgage to renovate their house. So you traditionally people stick with their lender. So if you have a mortgage through ABC Bank, that's your primary mortgage, and you want to renovate, let's say, the kitchen.
Right.
Because you have an established relationship with them, you would probably go back to your lender first to see what the rates were and what kind of deal they would give you for a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit.
Right.
Again, basically a second mortgage. And you would get it for X amount of dollars. Let's say if you needed it for $20,000 for the renovation, they would then do that. And then that you can do your home renovations like that.
Right.
Some people even sometimes they refinance, and when they refinance, they might refinance for more to get cash out. So if the existing mortgage is only $100,000 left on it, and you know that you need about $20,000-$30,000 for renovations in the house, you could refinance for $130,000, and then that $30,000 could be reinvested into the house.
Right. So just to summarize this, like you said, flipping houses, it's a lot more than what you maybe see in a Property Brothers. It, apart from just being able to actually do the renovation at a good cost, meaning that you get a profit, you also have to be well versed with the finance side of things to ensure that you have the cash flow to do this.
Yes.
Perfect. Something that we've asked a lot of our guests, the impact of COVID on the real estate market wherever they are. So are there any other consumer trends that you've seen in the markets you operate in over the last 2 years?
One of the trends I'm seeing is that the rents are going up.
Right.
Well, outside of the fact that the real estate industry average home sale went up about 20%. Again, average home sale went up about 20% above asking during COVID.
Wow. Okay.
Asking, and just to clarify for the listeners, asking means the price that the seller was asking for, right?
Yes, the listed price.
Right.
There are a couple of trends that I'm seeing. One is that because interest rates in the U.S. are still fairly low, there is still a demand to buy real estate, but inventory is less.
Right.
So that is going to keep the pricing a bit high. Not as high as it was during COVID, but the prices are. So that's one thing I'm seeing. The other thing I'm seeing, which is impacting the realtor market, the renters market, is that rents are going up.
Okay.
And they are supposed to go up based on the information I'm seeing. They're supposed to go up around 7 to 10% on the average.
Wow.
In the US. And that the reason that I think a lot has to do with it is that there was a freeze on rents during COVID because a lot of people lost their jobs. So now
Right.
that so again, what does that have to do with anything? Well, if your rents are going to go up, it really behooves you to kind of do a stop and reset and see, does it make sense to keep paying rent and the rents are going to go up, or maybe you want to invest.
Right.
Yeah, that's almost exactly what I was about to ask you.
Yeah, I think Yash and I sort of had the same thought here, because one of the things that one of our first guests spoke to was the fact that in India, the mindset of the younger generation is starting to not look at buying properties, and they're looking more to renting properties. I was just wondering, have you noticed any such generational trends in the USA or in the markets you've operated in?
Yes, I'm seeing the same trend. And that's actually driving a huge change in the corporate sector. So what is happening is a lot of firms are having an issue hiring talent because, the millennials and the Gen Zs, they're driving this ability to be virtual and mobile.
Right.
So they're looking for remote jobs, right? And and oddly enough, corporate sector is hearing them and listening to them. There are a lot of remote positions available where they weren't in the past.
Right.
How is that impacting the real estate market? Again, it's impacting the rental market, right? And rents are going up. But on the flip side, even though they want to be more mobile, there is still the other side of the real estate market, right? You're renting an apartment for 6 months through Airbnb. Who do you think is going to buy that place?
Right.
Right? Because it's not the McCallies that are going to give you a 6-month lease or a 3-month lease.
Yeah.
It's an individual that's actually bought it as an investment property and is doing Airbnb or short-term rentals, depending on what the master deed allows.
There's always an asterisk in real estate.
Always. So my point is that this trend that is happening in the corporate sector, which I do not foresee going away, and I think it's a good thing, is impacting the real estate market on various levels. Again, in a good way, because it's not only driving rent, but it's actually driving investment.
Right.
Right.
Simran, thank you so much for your time and for joining us on Concrete Conversations.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that there is, a genuine curiosity about real estate in the US from people here, and I think that we really answered a lot of the questions they might have today, because I had a lot of my questions answered, and thank you so much for that.
Sounds good. And I really want to take the opportunity again to thank the two of you for letting me showcase my knowledge and having this conversation in terms of the real estate market and what I bring to the table. I truly appreciate it. And it's been a pleasure. And, if you want to buy something in New York, New Jersey, or Pennsylvania, I know someone.
You know who to give a call. Yeah, we know exactly who to call now. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to follow Concrete Conversations on Instagram to know more about upcoming episodes and for some behind-the-scenes content.
For more deep dives into the world of Indian real estate, stay tuned for more Concrete Conversations.